Well, hello and welcome back to Candidate Conversations. This has been a conversation that's been a long time coming as we sit in our spaces. Some of us are on summer break. The official start to summer has happened, right? So I'm curious for our guests, before we even get into the how are you and where are you now, I'm just curious. It's summer. What are you feeling? What's on the summer docket? School is out. Give us like a little insight.
We are in summer break. It's been officially day 4 of break, and it has been fabulous not having to think about making so many decisions in a day. I'm looking forward to my NEA Global Fellow, I was going to say field trip, my trip to Costa Rica. I'll be there for 10 days, and um, just super cool to see the things that I've been working on behind the scenes with my team, to see about like all the different animal adaptations, to see it come to life. And then I'm going to Florida for 3 weeks. I kind of did like a work trip and a personal trip. And so I'll be there for a conference for Get Your Teach On. I got it funded through a grant with my district. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to go spend an extra week up there, for myself and then do work the following week. So I'm excited.
So we are back in conversation with one of my favorite people, Keke Powell. We're going to talk more about her experience with national board, submission, and all of the things. But I'm not sure if you just heard, she's going to Costa Rica through a fellowship. And so I think we touched a little bit on it like last time, but Keke, can you just give us like a high level overview of what this not only means for your practice, for your students, but just like you personally?
I just want to be able to bring more global awareness into my classroom and show my students that there's so much more beyond our community and our city and our state, and realize we can connect with kids all over the country, and just to not think small and think open your eyes wider, make your lens wider to bring people in.
I love that. So, of course, we're going to have to follow up post Costa Rica, post grant funded Get Your Teach On. You all can't see my face, but when she said that's the conference, as a classroom teacher, those kind of started happening right as I was leaving. And I was like, I want to be in a Get Your Teach On. It's like basically an educational professional learning party. So, congrats
Yes,
to you. Is this your
I'm
first time
excited.
going?
It is my first time because usually they always conflict with ISTE. And I'm like, yeah, this is the one summer I can actually make it.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. So I'll be following along on social media to live vicariously through you. But I'm so glad that you also like provided yourself some extra time to just be and have your own vacation while in Florida. That's going to be such a good time for you. So yeah, follow
Okay.
Kiki, y'all. So because I'm sure she'll be posting.
It'll be good. I'm excited.
I'm excited. Okay, so this is interview number 4, conversation. Yeah, we're gonna call it conversation number 4. We've been following you all year. And while that is wild to think about, I can't believe it's been as many months as it has been. There's a lot that's happened. You've won some grants, you're a part of fellowships. And through all of this, on top of teaching, on top of like living your own life, you were going through board certification this year, which is why we were having conversations and kind of learning from you and your experience. So as we sit here at the end of May, I still can't believe that's where we are. You have submitted your first piece of submission for the process. What are you feeling right now knowing that that's done?
I feel relieved. It was very stressful down to the wire. I was one of those people who submitted on May 16th, and I was like, I won't do 18th, but I won't do 17th, but 16 is good for me. So it was like a huge like excitement. I'm like, did I submit? And then even on May 18th, I actually went back multiple times to be like, did I for real submit? I know I took my photo and I sent it to my PLF, but like I need to confirm my brain, because when you work so hard for something, you just have to really make sure that it went through.
No, I totally get that. And so I did my maintenance of certificate last year. And even then, like going through the process, I sat and I recorded and voice over it. Okay, this is me adding this document, and this is me adding this document. Okay, and now I'm clicking submit, and I sent it to my friend. Like, this is proof, but also just like to reassure myself that I did the things that I think I was doing. Because sometimes you're just in there moving, like doing all the motion, and you're like, I hope I submitted and uploaded that thing correctly. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad too that your response was so authentic. Relief is a real feeling people have after submission, right? Um,
Yes.
so with that, you submitted on May 16th. The deadline was May 18th. I'm so curious. There's a lot of moving pieces, right? So was there something that you learned through the submission process itself? And if so, like what advice or things you want to remember for next year, May 2025?
I definitely learned that when I wrote my whole written commentary that I'm definitely not the best writer, but with a lot of sentence stems and a lot of critique and nice feedback. My mentor is great. I'm like, just give it to me. I can take it. Tell me what you really how you really feel about it. And the way that I was able to ask questions like I'm like, probe me, stem me. Like, I just need someone to pick all the great things that I'm doing in my brain. And after reading like my first version to like my 20th edit version, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is literally what I was like getting to. And then I was able to like highlight the cool things that I'm doing while also being myself and I did add some fun flair like exclamation marks, and I know we can't have a lot of fluff, but I'm like, it's just me. If I can just have one exclamation sentence out of like the whole paper, it's fine. So then when the reader reads it, they'll be like, oh, okay, I can see her personality coming. But it was really rewarding. And now when I ask questions to my kids, I'm like, why do you think that? Tell me
Mm.
more. And I want to probe them to get something more out of them.
I love how this process like even transcends your own experience, right? Of like writing and reflecting and analyzing and refining, but also like how you engage with the world around you to include your students. And I also just want to extend some kudos for keeping a hold of or even knowing where your initial draft was to like all the iterations of your other drafts so you could see the differences in the type of writing. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm not going to say that you're not a great writer. I'm going to say that writing to national board to attend to the questions, right? It is a very different type of writing than I think most educators are accustomed to. As someone who can be extremely flowery. Like I look at some of my emails and I'm like, girl, just like get to the point. Like, hope you're having the best day ever. Like I'm a
Yes.
journaler, I'm a reader. And so like to me, that is part of like my craft. But when you're working through this process, it's really like these are the things I did because I know my students, which impacts them by. And I know sometimes it's hard to like pull out the maybe some of the external things that we want to share. And so I think I'm curious, like at what point do you feel like you got to the point where you were saying, okay, I can use like one less exclamation point and I could like take out some of the flowery language. How far into the process did you really see that as like a part of your writing process?
It was like 75% when I was 75% done with component 2 because component
Mm,
2 was the one that I wanted to like be my solid one, not saying my
mm,
C4 isn't solid, but I was like this is what I feel the most comfortable in because it's like mine was on small group reading strategies, and it's like this is literally what I do every single day. Like it's
mm.
something that my kids are constantly doing. It's my most familiarized thing. I mean, we live, breathe, and teach small groups. So it's like, I got this. And hearing, like, okay, well, why do you do this? Or why is it important to pull specific students in your small group? I'm like, well, let me
Mm.
tell you why. This is what. And so being very specific and giving like the data to support the why.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's the part that oftentimes in having conversations with candidates, that's not the first thing that comes out, right? Oftentimes we write and it's in generalities. We say, well, I know small group instruction works, so I do it. Not necessarily beyond that. Like, what do I know about my students specifically that makes this small group instruction important for them at this time. And I think through the process, you get to start to embody that, and you just now in your practice, like that's how you start to think and move. And so you've been through this process for the full academic year. You submitted components 2 and 4. Hindsight being 2020, or looking back, is there anything that you would do differently as you're moving into submission for next year? Or even things that you would want to make sure that you do again to set yourself up for success?
Yeah, I already thought about like this summer when I have some time. Like I have a 4 hour layover. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna read my C3 written instruction because I need some. You know what I mean? I'm gonna utilize the time that I have, so
Yeah.
then I can pick out things in my brain to think about. All right, if I know I want to video this, um,
Mm.
reading lesson, then I'm going to start thinking of all the things that I've done in my past and pick out what is a good moment where I can engage my students and have them give me the responses that I can help stem them and get that light bulb moment to go off, and just plan ahead as much as I can. And yeah, I'm not submitting May 16th next year. I'm going to do it way sooner. And my goal is to like have C3 done by Christmas. So then when I do C1, I could just study and then get that off of my plate.
I appreciate how you're being authentic to you and saying, like, I have a 4 hour layover, like I can do something like reading by component instructions. Because I think my answer would have been, oh, I'm gonna play my Switch, I'm gonna watch some YouTube, I have some books on my Kindle I need to finish.
I saved
um
that for on the plane.
Oh, see, okay, there we go. There's balance. There's balance. But I really like to highlight the fact that you said, even in that like prep that you might be doing in your layover, part of it is just like reflecting on what you've already done as a teacher, right? It's not like sitting there building like this whole new plan or like a dog and pony show. You're going to take time to say, like, what did I teach that I think might demonstrate what needs to be shown in component 3, and like what would that look like for me moving forward? And so I'm curious, do you have a way in which you plan to capture that thinking? Are you someone who like annotates on paper instructions? Are you a tech person? Because there's so many different ways that one could go about that.
I like do everything both ways. I like write on all my, I mean, my binder has notes on everything. Like when somebody, if I'm watching a webinar, especially like on national board, and they're giving feedback or ideas on how to help future candidates, and they say asking yourself these questions, I'm writing these questions down all over and I'm putting them on. Okay, this is a C3 question, so when I go back and I open it up, I'm like, oh, this is going to help me write for this question. Someone said, this, and I'm like pulling from everything. And then videoing is fun because I already video quite a few of my lessons when I'm teaching.
Mm.
It's just more of like having the students feel comfortable with the video, because when they see a camera, oh my gosh, they're the next Hollywood star. They just get so excited. So starting them early with like, all right, Miss Powell's going to teach this lesson. Or sometimes I do it just to pretend like I'm recording when I'm not, just to see how students react, to let them know like, this is for me to better my career. Like I want to practice to make sure that I'm stemming you guys so I'm successful, so you can be successful, and having them like understand the why with everything.
That is so important. And if someone is listening and they're apprehensive about component 3 because of that recording aspect, I just want to name, to your point, like kids are going to be kids. They see a
Yep.
camera, they're going to be Hollywood actors and actresses. And they have grown up in a time that is so different than myself, probably you, as far as like access technology. My sister-in-law is an esthetician, and she had posted my niece getting like a kid facial. And tell me why my 5-year-old kindergarten niece was like doing influencer moves. I was like, what is this? And so, like, to your point of like being in front of a camera, like they get it already. She was like doing
Yes.
the tapping on her face. What is it? Little face mask that she put on. She was like doing the ASMR, like tapping to like show the package, and like, oh, this feels so good on my skin. And I'm like, you're 5 years old. You know all the
Yes.
moves. Like, you're not
They
afraid of the
love it.
camera. You are not afraid of the
Yes.
camera. So C3 and C1, I love the ambitious goal of like being done by December. Um, in the event that life happens, do you have plans for like if you have to go beyond December, what that might look like?
Yes, I'm totally cool with going beyond with December. And I like realize my most busiest months in life are literally like March, April, May.
Mm,
And I can never get away from it. Like that's when everyone's like reaching out, like, hey, can you do a collab with this? I'm like, no, but I'm like, yes, you don't want to say no because it's really great opportunity. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I do by December, everything will be okay. Or if I don't score as high as I wanted to on C4 or C2, then I already have in the back of my mind, like, all right, I'm going to spend like January
mm.
picking one of them. And that's the one I'm just going to fine tune it and get it all out there to fix. And I probably won't do both. Just pick a solid one and stick with it.
No, that makes sense. And again, for people who might be on the fence, or I'm in some of these Facebook groups, and people are like, okay, going at this for the very first time, not sure about anything about National Board. Where do I even start? Before like going to the website, before looking at standards, it might be helpful to take an audit of your time just so you know what you have access and flexibility to do. The process is flexible, and I think we can hear that in the way Kiki's explaining like how she plans to attend to certain things. But you're absolutely right. If you know that March, April, and May are bananas, like probably don't wait to record in March and then hope that you get something by April so you can write in May. Like you have that time and flexibility to push the timeline forward because the timeline is your own. Um, so, did you feel like Kiki to that point? Did you come to that realization on your own, or did coaching help you realize, like, hey, March, April, and May were like tough to get through this process. I might need to like bump up how I access components 3 and 1 next year.
I realized, well, I started doing C4 really good in November. And then December is like, I feel like that's another. I
Uh
mean, come
huh.
on, it's for the holidays. You just want time for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like your halfway point. And then January came, and that's when I really hit C2. And C2, I felt like was going really strong. But then I started um, just taking a little bit more time to get my writing done. And then by the time like April hit, okay, C2 is done. Now let me can get on my C4 solid together. And I don't know, like I'm just that type of person when it's like, oh, the deadline's coming, like guy, let's get it in gear, and I'm doing it, and you just get excited. And I'm like totally one of those people. It's like it's like 2 days before I can still do it. And so I was like, even though I worked on it so much throughout the whole year, I still feel like I just did so much in March, April, and May,
Yeah.
just because I knew I'm like, oh, I still have time. Let's fine tune this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kiki, we know that next year you're gonna be working on C3 and C1. You shared how you're already thinking about C3, like starting this summer at a layover in the airport. With C1 being more of that assessment base, like I'm going to a testing center, doing some selected response, writing some responses to constructed response questions. Is there a prep that you're considering now for component one, or do you see like you taking time past, when you would like to be done with component three to really focus on component one prep?
Yeah. I want to start prepping more like in January.
Okay.
Assessments are not my strong suit. A lot of people don't know this, but it took me like 4 times to pass my teaching test
Mm,
because I'm just not a test taker. And so when people find out, they're like, "Wow, really?" I'm like, "Yeah,
mm,
I am just like an ordinary person who just struggles with test anxiety.
yeah.
And when I look at a question, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is wild." And I actually had to, no one actually knows this one, but I actually had to take my ESL exam in February. And if I didn't pass it, that I would not get I wouldn't be able to teach in my district because you get 2 years to teach. So I was secretly stressing out about that this whole school year. And this was my third time taking it. So I actually reached out to an awesome lady. Her name was Erica Garza. She is the curriculum coordinator, and she helped tutor me. I went to her session, and then she came to my school and tutored me after school. And then I ended up passing. I probably did not pass without her help. And so I was excited, and I joked, and I'm like, I have a job for next school year because I finally got my ESL certification. So I definitely struggle with online tests, and I'm like already thinking about C1. If I don't pass, I'm like, it's fine. I can just take it again next year, like how I do all my other assessments. It's okay.
Okay, one, thank you for being so vulnerable. Two, I literally have goosebumps as you were talking, like, one, about your process and kind of like your own needs with assessment, but just how passionate you are about the profession. Like, had you let the testing, quote unquote, hold you back? What a detriment to like your district and your students. I mean, you're going to Costa Rica on a national
I
fellowship. Like,
know.
what?
Yeah,
What?
it's
Oh my
wild.
gosh. Wow. Oh my gosh. Keke, I always appreciate our time together, especially you're 4 days into summer. So thank you for saying, like, yeah, I'll jump on a call and have a conversation. This will not be the end of our following of you. If you don't know that, now you do. We're going to continue to keep up with you, especially as you continue to grow and excel and do amazing things in the profession. Of course, we'll check back in once, scores are released and see how you're doing, how you're feeling. But for this, as we kind of say, bon voyage as you head off to your many adventures this summer. If someone is listening to this and they're like, okay, Keke is super relatable. Like, testing, not her thing. Like, planning, like, plan to do the thing, but also, like, life happened. Also, I want to live a life. And so if Keke can do this process, like, I think I can too, but I'm still kind of on the fence. What might you say to someone who is listening to this conversation, sees themselves within you, but also is kind of still like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. What would you say to them?
I would say don't be afraid. Find a buddy. Find someone that you can go through the process with. It's a lot easier when you have someone to connect with and find resources to help you. I was very fortunate enough to have a district cohort that opened up the opportunity for me. I've always was on the fence about it for many, many years, but I just didn't know where to start. And so when I saw the email, we're looking for people who would like to join the cohort, I'm like, why not? It's a great way to connect and network with people. You get to find people with the same passion and drive as you, and you just get to further yourself and challenge yourself. I think the key word there is challenge yourself as a teacher to showcase the great things that you're doing, the behind the scenes. Not everyone's going to see the great things that you're doing, and this is like your voice and to show like, hey, I am a great teacher and I want to show to the world like I want to be the best that I can be. That would be my best advice.
All right, so y'all have heard it here first. Find a group if there is one in your area, even a partner. I've heard from candidates who just had like one other person in their school who they, bounce ideas off of one another. They set time to write together. Even if you don't have a full blown cohort, there could be someone in your school who's like, I've been on the fence too. Let's get off the fence together, right? And like do what we can with what we have. Even that like one step above just like doing it alone could be the thing that pushes you to do it. And so Keke, we are so grateful that you have really opened the door to your classroom, your practice, your thought process as we've had conversations this year. And we just wish you the best this summer. Have the best time at all of the things that you have worked so hard for. Like, enjoy Costa Rica, enjoy your conference, enjoy your time in Florida. And we will be in contact with you in the new year and the new school year, that is. And we can't wait to learn more about what's going on in Miss Powell's classroom.
Sounds good. Thank you.